So, sustainable farming. It is widely considered this really worthy, noble goal. But I want you to just stop and think about what that word sustainable actually means for a second. By definition, it just means maintaining what we currently have, right? Sustaining the status quo. But what if the current state of our soils, our water systems, our biodiversity, and our farming communities is already deeply damaged? Because after decades of extractive industrial agriculture, merely sustaining a damaged system is, well, it's simply not enough. We need a massive paradigm shift. What we really need is regeneration. We have to go from just trying to minimize our harm to actively restoring the health, the vitality, and the raw productivity of our farms and the ecosystems they belong to. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into what is arguably the most exciting and rapidly growing movement in global farming right now: regenerative agriculture. This is a movement that works directly with natural processes to completely transform farms, reconnecting agriculture with the exact ecological systems that made it possible in the very first place. I am absolutely thrilled to share this with you because the results we're seeing all over the globe are literally reshaping what we thought was possible in farming. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The paradigm shift. 2. The 5 principles. 3. Restoring the ecosystem. 4. Measuring health. And 5. The economics of regeneration. Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the paradigm shift. I want you to picture a wild forest or a totally untouched prairie. The core insight we have to grasp here is that healthy ecosystems are these brilliant, self-organizing, self-fertilizing natural technologies. They produce absolute abundance without a single drop of synthetic fertilizer. They somehow maintain their fertility without tractors coming in and tilling the soil. Natural ecosystems support extraordinary biodiversity just through how all their component parts interact. Regenerative agriculture is really just the practice of mimicking this natural technology. It is working with natural processes rather than constantly fighting against them, and it perfectly adapts to your local climate and soil. Moving right along to section 2, the 5 principles. So here is the actual actionable framework, the 5 core principles that guide this practice no matter what climate you're in. First, minimize soil disturbance. Basically, put the plow away. Mechanical tillage absolutely destroys soil structure and fungal networks, so regenerative farmers use direct seeding and deep-rooted plants instead. Number 2, maintain living roots year-round. Bare soil equals dying soil. Living roots pump out sugars that feed the whole soil food web. Third, keep the soil covered at all times with mulch or crop residue to stop erosion and lock in moisture. Fourth, maximize biodiversity. Diverse systems are exponentially more resilient than monocultures. And finally, number 5, integrate livestock. Animals are crucial for nutrient cycling. Their grazing stimulates plant growth and their manure feeds the entire soil ecosystem. All right, section 3, restoring the ecosystem. So, what does this actually look like on the ground? Let's break it down. For soil, regenerative farmers don't just sprinkle a little compost like a vitamin, they use it generously to drive soil health. They also use biochar, which is a type of charcoal that acts as this amazing long-term carbon store and a hotel for beneficial microbes. They'll even inoculate seeds with mycorrhizal fungi, basically friendly root fungi, to massively extend the reach of the plant's roots. For water, the whole game is slowing it down, using specific landscape designs. And for livestock, it is all about managing their grazing so that it actually heals the land instead of degrading it. Let's look closer at water management. We use something called keyline design. This was developed down in Australia, and it uses the natural topography to pull water away from the valleys and spread it broadly out across the ridges. Think of a really undulating landscape, kind of like the terrain in Karnataka's Western Ghats or the Deccan Plateau. By just tweaking how water moves across the topography, you can entirely recharge a dry landscape and completely avoid waterlogging in the wet spots. You can even dig shallow channels on contour, which we call swales, to catch runoff and hold it there until it sinks deep into the earth. Now, when it comes to the crops themselves, diversity is your ultimate tool. Regenerative farmers love planting what they call cover crop cocktails, these wild mixes of 5 to 12 different plant species. Why? Because a monoculture is just never going to give you the benefits of a diverse mix. You get different root architectures physically breaking up compacted soil at different depths. You have legumes pulling free nitrogen right out of the air to feed the soil, grasses building up organic matter, and brassicas feeding beneficial insects. Plus, adding perennial plants like moringa or local fruit trees brings permanent root systems to the farm, which creates a totally vibrant, biologically active environment. And then we bring in the animals. Enter silvopasture, Honestly, this is the ultimate ecological life hack. You are literally integrating trees right in with grazing livestock in the exact same system. The animals graze underneath the trees and naturally fertilize them. In return, the trees give the animals crucial shade that seriously cuts down on heat stress, while also offering extra fodder and habitat for wild birds. The crazy thing? It gives you higher total productivity per acre than trees or pasture could ever give you on their own. Which brings us to Section 4, Measuring Health. So in conventional farming, success is basically just short-term yield and cash. But in regenerative agriculture, we are tracking the actual health of the ecosystem over time. And the best part is how incredibly accessible these metrics are. You do not need a fancy lab. Take soil biology. Just dig out a 30-centimeter cube of soil with a spade and literally count the earthworms. It's totally low-tech, but the worms don't lie. For water infiltration, you take a bottomless container, press it into the dirt, pour in 5 liters of water, and time how long it takes to vanish. Do that every year, and you track your progress. Even a tiny 0.1% bump in soil organic matter year over year is a massive win for long-term health and carbon storage. Throw in some simple bird and bug counts, and you are actively tracking nature bouncing back. Finally, Section 5, the economics of regeneration. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. Is investing in all this stuff actually economically viable? Well, what you typically see when a farm transitions is this famous U-shaped yield curve. Yes, for sure, yields might dip a little bit for 3 to 5 years while a farmer is cutting back on synthetic inputs and waiting for the natural soil biology to wake up and compensate. But over time, those yields recover to match and very often beat conventional systems. And more importantly, the long-term yield trend in a regenerative system just keeps going up, whereas conventional yields on degrading, tired soil eventually just plateau or even crash. But listen, yield is only half the financial story here. Farm profitability absolutely skyrockets under this model. Why? First off, huge cuts to input costs. When your soil biology is healthy, nutrients are available naturally, so you're buying way less fertilizer. More biodiversity means fewer pests, so you're buying way less pesticide. Better soil structure means it holds water like a sponge, so you're irrigating less. On top of those slashed costs, farmers are getting into premium markets through regenerative certifications because consumers are demanding this stuff. And finally, with carbon markets blowing up, farmers can earn entirely new streams of income just by selling carbon credits for all the carbon their healthy soil is pulling out of the atmosphere. So what does this all mean? The core takeaway of this whole explainer is that regenerative agriculture demands a total mental shift. We have to stop just extracting value from the land and start investing in the land's capacity to produce indefinitely. Because when we finally treat the farm as a living, breathing ecosystem, nature responds with just extraordinary generosity. You definitely don't have to change your entire operation overnight. But it does make you wonder, right? If nature can heal itself this incredibly fast when we just step out of the way, what other global crises could we solve just by mimicking the Earth's natural tech? So my challenge to you is to pick just one single regenerative practice to start with this season. Which one are you most excited to try out? Let me know your thoughts below. Next time, we're going to dive deep into vertical farming and how these wild, innovative systems are growing food in places where conventional farming is literally impossible. See you then.